Hello there, this is Oscar again with the Lens Depot, and today we're very excited about our Inspire 1. Wanted to talk a little bit about it, wanted to compare it a little bit to our Phantom 2 that we've been renting for a while. Kind of walk you through the differences, you know, what's the big deal with the Inspire, what we include, and just a few tips to get you set up, get you going before you get this up in the air. So, you know, a lot of customers ask us, what's the big difference? You know, it is a lot more money when you're looking to purchase one. Renting, it is a little bit more money. You know, what's the big deal? First of all, it's the platform itself. The camera is identical to the new Phantom 3 that they just announced. As far as picture quality, the camera rivals that of a GoPro, you know, Hero 4. So, you know, what's the big deal? First of all, it's the platform itself. You know, the blades are 13 inches versus the blades on the Phantoms are 9 inches. And then the actual footprint itself. So if you've ever flown a Phantom 2, they're a little squirrely when you're, you know, when you have a little bit of wind. They're great when it's, you know, it's perfect outside. Landing can be a little bit tricky. Again, you have a small platform, you know, where to land versus this thing. So you can see it's a huge difference. This is a lot more forgiving. This is a lot easier, believe it or not, to fly. This is a lot easier to land. Once it's up in the air, it's also a lot stabler. So if it's a little windier, this is going to be more stable than the Phantom. As far as speed, this is also going to be faster. You know, let me talk about what we provide with the rental, and then I can talk to you about, you know, how to set it up and get, you know, getting you up in the air. So first of all, you're going to get, you can probably barely see it off the frame here, this huge GoPro custom fitted case. The Inspire, it's going to come with our rental package with 3 batteries fully charged and a charger with a battery, with a cable, I should say. The batteries are good for about 15 minutes. Again, that all varies, you know, with how fast you're flying it, you know, the wind conditions, a bunch of different factors, and we'll get into that here in a moment. The batteries do take a little while to charge up. If they're fully depleted, about an hour and a half or so. But keep in mind, you have about 15 minutes of flight time. I usually try to bring it back at about 12 or 13 minutes, just to make sure. But I'll get into that a little bit later on. 4 props and another 4 props. Now these are the original props, the self-tightening ones that DJI introduced. We do have the clips on these, so if you do have to replace them with one of the ones that we give you, make sure that you put these safety clips on top. So it's real easy. You just kind of squeeze. Hopefully you can see it from the camera there. Squeeze, lift it up, replace it. Okay, obviously there's 2 silver ones and 2 black ones. You just have to tighten them, put them on, turn them until they tighten, and then put this clip. You can't forget to put this clip on top. And then this clip is just another safety feature, just to make sure, you know, they're not going to, you know, come apart while in flight. Now, this has a travel mode and a landing mode. The case that we have is a landing mode case, meaning that it doesn't have to be, this doesn't have to be retracted to go into the case for travel. So the case is big, but it's just going to make it a little bit easier for you, that you're not going to have to take the camera and then gimbal off and on when you're packing it to send it back to us, or when you're packing it to go to your destination. So you'll never have to take this gimbal off. So again, you don't have to take the gimbal off. It just slides right into the case. When you're ready, pull it right out. You never have to put the Inspire in a travel mode. So again, some extra blades as well. You have 2 controllers. They're both labeled. One is slave and the other one's master. I'll go over that in a second. We have a harness that you can put around you and clip on to the controller. So if it's a long day, you can, you know, rest your arms. There are some filters So one of the nice things about the camera on the Inspire is that you can put some ND filters on here. So you'll see you'll have a clear UV filter on the camera, and then you can take that off and you can put an ND filter for the bright days. You'll have a power cable and a power brick for our NVIDIA tablet that we include, and then you'll have some USB cables for the monitors. Now, NVIDIA tablet, phenomenal. Very fast. This is one of the reasons we picked it. Great real estate screen. Very bright. Battery doesn't last that long. So, you know, I've probably gotten about an hour and 15 minutes. It wasn't fully depleted, but just didn't feel comfortable flying until I charged it up. So just be cognizant of that. We do our best to have these charged up when they go out to you and they're off, so you're just gonna have to turn them on. When you're done with it, make sure you turn it off. It'll go into standby, but even on standby time, the battery will die. So make sure that you shut them off, and then obviously you can plug them in when you're not using them. The remotes are gonna be fully charged, depleted. They will take about 2 hours or so. When they're ready to go, they will last, believe it or not, about 4 hours. So let me get into how to set this guy up, and we'll get you out there, get you flying. So if you've ever flown a Phantom, you know about the compass calibration and all that good stuff. So the Inspire takes it to the next level. So the Inspire comes with an app. It's called the DJI Pilot app. So when you get your NVIDIA, there's let me back up. We include this case. There's a power button. Just kind of firmly press and hold it. It's going to turn it on. Take about a minute or so to boot up, and then we'll plug that into the master. So let me talk, while that's booting up, let me talk a little bit about the master and the slave. Do you have to have both remotes? You don't. So another advantage of the Inspire over the Phantom is that you can have one individual that flies a Phantom, and all they do is concentrate on flying it, and then you have another individual that can control the camera. Another advantage, there's a lot of advantages, another advantage is that this camera has 300-degree capability, whereas basically the GoPro followed the Phantom. You can keep this stable and be able to control the camera. The second operator can control the camera and do all sorts of different things. So they're already connected to the Inspire. You guys don't have to bound anything. The master is the master, the slave is the slave. They're both connected. They're ready to go. So again, we only include one of these. If you are going to use a dual operator mode, then you'll have to have, another tablet. So what tablets? We've had customers ask us, what tablets? The faster, the newer, the better. Obviously, we haven't tested all tablets and/or all phones, so we don't know exactly if it's going to work with what you have. You do have to do some research. You can call us, if we know, we'll do our best to give you a little bit of guidance. But I've read on the forums that the fastest iPads and iPad minis work the best. Some of the newer ones with some of the faster processors. So again, iPad minis work good. Some of the Galaxy, I think S4s, S5s work really good. We chose the NVIDIA because it's the fastest one out there. So again, fast. Latency. Some of the older pads and some of the older phones might have a little bit of lag, to get your video. So again, I've turned this on. As you can see, it goes back into sleep mode. Just hit power on again. Just unlock it. You'll see the DJI app here. Now, if you want to see the maps of where you're going to be flying, you want to make sure you connect to Wi-Fi, okay? And you go into the app, to the DJI app, and although you might not be connected to the Inspire or to the remote, you want to have the maps, cache all that information. So Once you are ready to fly, if you're around your phone, make sure your phone's in the car. You want as little interference as possible with the tablet. So what I do is put the tablet on airplane mode, okay, and then I also shut off the Wi-Fi just in case I'm close to my home. I don't want, you know, the Wi-Fi to connect and to have any interference. So make sure you shut off the Wi-Fi, make sure your battery's full, and make sure you put it on airplane mode. That way you get as little interference as possible. You know, obviously, you know, you want to make sure you don't fly when it's super windy, when it's raining, when it's snowing, especially if this is going to be your first time flying one of these. You've never flown a Phantom or any other UAV before. Make sure you're away from power lines. Make sure you're away from trees, from buildings, from cars. Just get out in an open field. That way you can practice. This is very forgiving. This is really easy. I've flown the Phantom a lot. This is a piece of cake, I think, compared to that. But you know, if you've never done it before, it's still going to take you a little bit of time to get yourself comfortable. So you know, what you want to do is, let me get this off the floor here, is get your master, okay? Get one of the cables that we provide. There's an NVIDIA cable in here, which is fine, or one of the white cables from DJI, that's fine as well. So you want to make sure that you plug this in, because you have to connect it to the tablet. Okay. This tablet's fairly big. There's a little button on the side here. Just kind of do one of these numbers. What I do, I start bringing her down, and then make sure it's going to be tight, so that way it doesn't slip out on you. And you can give it a nice good squeeze. That's not tight enough. Just kind of playing around with it. You're not going to hurt it. And make sure it's nice and snug, like so. So she's not going to move around on you. Then you want to connect the tablet to your controller with this USB cable, like so. And then, hopefully you can see, you want to turn on the remote, the master, hit it once, hit it a second time, and it's going to turn on. It's going to give you a series of lights, okay? And it's going to tell you, you know, if it's ready to go. Right now you're going to have a red light since it's not connected to the Inspire. But you'll be able to go into the DJI app. Now, if you've flown a Phantom 2 and you're going to fly this is going to be another world. This is really amazing. Take your time and go through this. Take a look at it. There's a lot of things in here. There's a lot of features. DJI has some YouTube videos that kind of walk you through all of this. Again, I'm just going over some of the basics. So at this point, there's no signal. There's no anything because it's not connected to the Inspire. So I'm going to go ahead and put a battery in the Inspire and just turn it on. That way you can see a little bit of information. So again, the Inspire, to turn it on, just like a Phantom, hit it once, hit the battery a second time, and hold it for a few seconds. And you'll hear it there on the floor beep at us here. And camera does its calibration thing, so you'll see it moving around.
Status before taking off.
And then she starts talking to you. So it's going to tell you that the firmware is good to go. Obviously, before it leaves here, it's going to have the updated firmware. So you want to X out of that. And then now you can see what the camera sees. Now, as just a master operator, you're only going to have limited capability to the camera. You know, a little bit left to right, not a whole lot. Back here, you have a toggle switch that you can turn it, and it's going to have a capability, obviously, of coming, you know, going up and down as well. Okay. Once you connect the second controller, the slave, or your co-pilot's going to have a lot more, you know, switches and things available for them. So you want to make sure that you have an SD card, a micro SD card. So you want to make sure that you put that in to the camera here on the side. You do that when this is off. So make sure this is off. To shut it off, hit it once, twice. I shut off the Inspire. SD card goes in here. We don't include it. You're going to have to get your own a micro SD card. No, nothing bigger than a 64 gigabyte. So you want to make sure before you turn it on that you put it on here. You know, once you turn it on, it's going to be doing its calibration thing. So I'll show you now while it's on the table here what it's going to do. Make sure it's on a flat surface. It's going to take a second there. It's going to calibrate, make all sorts of noises. That's normal. Okay, then she'll be good to go. So I'm going to put this all off to the side now. And then you'll be able to see again here. It's going to tell us, you know, no SD card, and you have the signal to the controller. From the controller, I mean, to the Inspire there. And it's set up as master, obviously. So you can see we have a green light now that's telling us there's a connection to the Inspire. There's also an HD signal. Very important. You can do one of two things with this. You can leave it on auto, which I suggest, or you can play around to see what's the strongest signal for you. Now, I've gotten this thing out about a mile away over water. Not a whole lot of interference, and I've left it on auto. So what's going to happen, it's going to lose signal. You're going to lose signal for a second. At first it's a little daunting, but then it acquires a new signal and you'll be good to go. So if you leave it on auto, that's normal. If you put it on a custom channel, you might not have the right channel, you know, when you're going out, you know, a long ways away. So you know, when it leaves here, it's all set up as default. You know, there's a ceiling of 400 feet. There's all sorts of different defaults. You know, you can go in here and you can obviously change a lot of those things. Tells you the battery up here. Now you can switch from, you know, camera over to video camera. One of the nice things with this remote is that with the switches on the back, you can, while she's up in the air, you can start the video, stop the video, take a picture, whereas with a Phantom and a GoPro, I mean, you have to set your settings on the ground and go up there, and hopefully you get something good when you come back down. Another nice thing with this is that you'll be able to change from JPEGs to RAW. You can adjust your white balance. You can adjust your video size up to 4K. You can adjust, you know, image size. You can do all sorts of things. You can even shoot in log if you're one of those folks that, you know, is really good with Photoshop, and then, you know, you want to adjust, you know, your exposures and things like that. So there's a lot of things you can do with this. One of the really I think super important things is that when it's up in the air, the exposure when you're up 300 feet is different than when you're down on the ground. You might not have any shadows from trees or buildings. So when it's up in the air, you can adjust your shutter speed. You can adjust your ISO. You can adjust all sorts of things before you start filming or before you start you know, taking pictures. So it's not doing it now, but you know, it'll tell you your signal strength for GPS. So the default is GPS mode. You can change it to manual mode if you like. We don't recommend it, but GPS mode means once you get it up in the air and you let go of the sticks for whatever reason, it's just going to sit there. And this thing is so stable. I mean, it might move a foot here and there, but as long as it has signal, it's just going to sit there, which is great. Okay, so the first thing you need to do, obviously, put a battery in, make sure it's stable. Is you have to set your compass. In the Phantoms, you have to also set your home position. This automatically sets your home position as a position that you're taking off from. You can also go into the settings and change your home position. So if you start walking around and you want the master controller to be the home position, there's a setting that you can tell it I am the home position. So if something were to happen, you lose signal, the battery dies on this or what have you, or you hit the home button, it's going to come back to you, not where you took off from. There's also a way that, you know, that you can set the home position where the aircraft is at. So that's also in the app. So the most important thing is to set your compass. You'll have to go and set your compass every single time. A lot of the people in the forum say you just only have to do it, you know, once every so often. Do it every single time. If I fly in the morning and I go back out in the afternoon and it's the same location, I always set the compass again. And we've never had any issues here with the compass. So make sure that you follow the instructions. There's a setting here. You go into settings and you have to, you know, walk around in one direction and then flip it forward and walk it around, and it'll show you exactly with some animation on the screen here exactly what to do and how to set your home position. Home position. If you feel uncomfortable, you've lost sight, you don't know which way the Inspire is facing, you can call the aircraft to you. There's a button on the controller here. Press and hold it. You're going to see on the screen a series of messages saying, you know, home position has been, you know, turned on, and it's going to come back to that home position. Whether it's the default or the controller or the new one that you've set, it's going to come back and it's going to land by itself. So at any time you see it, you change your mind, you regain control, press and hold the home position down for a second, and it shuts it off, and you've regained control of the aircraft. You know, at any time, obviously, keep an eye out on the battery. So they're set up, the batteries are set up where we set the defaults that when they get to 10%, it's going to come back home regardless. So basically what it's going to do, the aircraft is going to go up to 60 feet. That way it hopefully clears trees and it comes back to that last home position. So, you know, it could decide to come home before that 10% because it can calculate if it's too far away. I mean, it does all these calculations by itself, and then it decides that, hey, you know, it's time to come home because the battery's about to die, and it can do it by itself. So you just keep an eye. There's a battery up here, you know, a battery line. Right now it's at 94%, and it starts coming down, and there's a little H here. That's the home position. When it gets to that H, it's going to come home. Again, the batteries are good for about 15 minutes. I never usually go past 12 minutes before I start bringing her back. Takeoff and landing on this compared to the Phantom, different world, so much easier. It has auto takeoff and auto land. Okay, so when it's all set up, you're going to see on the left-hand side here. Let's see if I can get to it. Right over here on the left-hand side, there's you know, auto takeoff, and you'll click that, another screen will pop up. Do you want auto takeoff? You slide to the right, and automatically it's going to turn on the props, and it's going to take off. It's going to retract its landing gear. That way, that camera has, you know, has a lot of access, you know, without seeing the landing gear, you know, like the Phantoms. Also has landing by itself, which is amazing. I've tried it. It works really, really good. So, you know, it's very unnerving to fly the Phantom and land it. This is a piece of cake. So I've done it manually, and I've done it, you know, through the app, and the app works flawlessly. I mean, it's just, it really is phenomenal. You know, so there's all sorts of things in here. You know, you want to make sure, the most important things, it's that you set your compass properly, and then you have GPS signal, and this mode has changed to GPS. That means, you know, that you're good to go. You keep an eye on your batteries, but when you get this, make sure you take some time, play with it, learn the app, you know, go out in an open field, take your time. Some of the other settings here are set up for the dual mode operator with the camera. Again, those are all bound. Those are all really good to go and all set up. There's a couple of ways that you can set up how you control the camera. And again, that's in the manual that we have on our website. One last thing with the remote before I forget. These antennas have to be in this up position. They can't be in that position. They can't be in that position. They have to be straight up in that position, okay? If you have any questions, feel free to call and ask and email as much as you want before you take off. We'd rather have you have all the information and be comfortable flying one of these. It's an amazing, amazing aircraft. I mean, there's some shots that you're not going to be able to get with a Phantom, especially with the dual operator, that you will be able to get with the Inspire. All right? Thanks again for watching. Bye-bye.